Should the BBC just sell Doctor Who, the whole IP, to whoever will buy it? Welcome to the Tachyon Pulse podcast.
Our Tachyon pulse has been unable to completely penetrate the anomaly.
I watched the first episode of the second season of the Disney Doctor Who. It's not much better. We were promised something that was going to be more Doctor Who, and to be fair, it is more Doctor Who. But the agenda is still there. It's still very camp Doctor Who. And to be honest, it was quite cringy. This new, the female companion, I don't know what's going on there, but I'm not sure her character completely made sense. But yeah, no, didn't enjoy it. But I'm not going to go into that because I want to talk about something I dropped last week. Disney have made a proposal to the BBC and Bad Wolf, who produce Doctor Who for the BBC. And that proposal basically was saying, look, if we are going to continue and extend this current deal, we want to control who the showrunner is, we want to decide who the Doctor is and a lot of the other casting, and we basically want creative control over the project. The proposal does not go as far as proposing to actually buy the IP. But speaking to now a couple more people in and around this, they're telling me that the general opinion of this proposal is that it's the first step towards that actually Disney intend to hostile takeover of Doctor Who and to buy the IP eventually off the BBC. Now, I can only imagine that this proposal has been put forward after conversations with the BBC. And again, I'm told that it is something the BBC might look at and might actually consider. It is a flagship for the BBC and it is very important for them, but they have a massive problem that they can't afford to pay for these shows. The BBC as an entity is in its dying days. The whole entertainment tax in the UK, that we actually pay a license fee, and we all have to pay a license fee, a system that was created initially to basically create television for us here in the UK. So it was to pay for all the masts to go up and the infrastructure of television and radio and stuff, and it was basically nationalised television. But that is so now outdated, and it is talked about in Parliament a great deal about scrapping the licence fee. A licence fee that no other country has done, and is a complete unique way that the BBC is funded. The BBC will only pay for about a third of what Doctor Who costs. This is why the Disney deal was done in the first place. And it's why Russell T Davies is now talking about there being a break, because it doesn't look like Disney, even if they get what they want and the BBC capitulate to them, it doesn't look like the BBC and Disney are going to strike a new deal. So, what should the BBC do with Doctor Who if there is no deal? Because I am telling you now, they will not continue to produce this show on their own. They will need to get another partner. I'm being told that Bad Wolf is already in conversations with Amazon through its parent company of Sony, just in case Disney do actually pull out of the deal. Now, that will mean there's a break in Doctor Who either way, because they've not started filming anything. Remembering they actually filmed this second season nearly a year ago, or more than a year ago now, they've actually finished filming. So it does take 18 months from green light to screen. It shouldn't, but nowadays TV shows just do. So with the BBC unwilling and, let's be honest, unable to pay for a quality sci-fi show like Doctor Who, what options does that leave? Obviously, they could take on Disney's proposal and take Mickey Mouse's money and continue the way it is, but lose creative control. There would still be a partnership. The BBC's name would still be on this production. Bad Wolf would still produce it for them. But Disney would basically be paying the checks and making the major creative decisions. That is one way to go, and I think that could work if Disney make the right decisions about who should run this show, and they bring it back to something that Doctor Who fans would recognise as Doctor Who. The main thing is they've got to cast the Doctor right. Tennant, Matt Smith were right. They've not really got it right since. I loved Peter Capaldi. I think he's a brilliant actor, but to be honest, it didn't quite work. Matt Smith was able to carry this show on his shoulders all on his own. Peter Capaldi couldn't. Obviously, we then got Doctor with boobs, and now we've got Ncuti Gatwa. They need to cast Doctor Who right. The showrunner is obviously vital for that as well, and we need somebody that's a fan of Doctor Who, but also understands what it means. It has to be, in my opinion, someone that's British and that grew up with this franchise. Whether Disney will see it like that, I don't know. But that is one option. The other option is that actually Bad Wolf could try to buy the Doctor Who IP. They are a company in their own right that's owned by Sony. So, in theory, they could get the money to do this. They could come up with a license agreement, which I think would probably be the best way of doing it. Whereas the BBC don't actually sell them the full rights, the IP. They give them a license agreement, as in they basically rent it to them. So, Sony, Bad Wolf, pay a fee, and the BBC go, crack on. And then any profits that are produced would be then go to Sony and Bad Wolf. The BBC would just get their fee. I actually think this is the way that they really could go about this, because Sony has a really close working relationship with Amazon. So they basically would have a direct route there to get this show on our screens internationally, while still having this part of the agreement. The BBC will still hold the national rights in the UK to show the TV show at least first. There is also an option here, though, that actually Sony have a really good working relationship with Netflix as well. Actually, they have a deal at the moment where all Sony movies that they produce actually go on Netflix first. So there is that option there to get a deal with Netflix too. I'm being told again, though, that any of these companies would want access to the back catalogue. They would want access to pretty much all of the Doctor Who, classic and modern. And that might be difficult. The one bonus, maybe, a lot of people might consider here, is that would not include the 2 seasons that Disney have paid for and the Christmas specials that Disney have paid for. Those would stay on Disney+. So you could get the entire back catalogue, but not Ncuti Gatwa. Some people might think that as a bonus. Get into the comments, tell me what you think. So that is another option. Either they buy the IP, Bad Wolf this is, or they rent it for, say, a 10-year deal and see what they can do with it. I think that is a good idea, again, in a way, because Bad Wolf is Doctor Who. They're a company that basically were created around Doctor Who. You know, obviously they're named after a couple of episodes within David Tennant's Doctor Who with the Bad Wolf and Rose and all that. So that would make sense to me. They're a company that in theory knows what to do, but they're also a company that has heavily defended Russell T Davies, and the BBC, going back nearly 12 months now, I'm understanding, in cooperation with Bad Wolf, have really fought against Disney's argument that Russell T Davies isn't right for Doctor Who at the moment. And that when they were talking about wanting to get rid of him, if they wanted to proceed with his 3rd season, BBC and Bad Wolf have sort of basically argued, look, no, wait for the Christmas special, it's better, we promise. Wait for the 2nd season, it's better, we promise. Then make a decision. And they've, really argued this point. So you could argue that, again, Bad Wolf is a company that has already made really poor creative decisions. Maybe they're not the best people to handle it. I think either way, there needs to be a break from Doctor Who. And there will be for at least 2 or 3 years anyway, because whatever happens will take time to get up and running again. I think it is almost certain at this point that Disney will not sign a new deal with the BBC and Bad Wolf unless they regain significant control over the show. And Russell T Davies will not be showrunning it. And Ncuti Gatwa will not be the Doctor. What I got accused of being a liar for saying 7 or 8 months ago, when I first dropped the news that Russell T Davies was not popular with Disney and that this show was in serious risk of getting cancelled, a load of Doctor Who zealots just jumped on me and called me a liar and said, oh, everything was a load of rubbish. I don't have any sources. I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it seems I was right. I made the mistake of actually just dropping some information I was told about this, but I don't follow Doctor Who anymore, and I haven't for ages. So yeah, I didn't do a great video when I first dropped it. I've done my research since. But that conspiracy theory now looks increasingly like fact. I'd love to know what you think. Get into the comments. If you were the BBC, what would you do with Doctor Who? You can't afford to produce it yourself. Is now the time just to sell it on? And if they sell it on right and get the right people in charge, maybe we could get back to a Doctor Who we actually know and love. Get into the comments and tell me exactly what you think. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell notification. It really helps us out. But also, you can become a channel member. And if you do, for a small fee, you get to see these videos up to 24 hours before everybody else. Can't argue with that. As always, please stay safe, and I'll see you next time.
Our tachyon pulse has been unable to completely penetrate the anomaly.